So moving on, so that's another way of projects. So we looked at the various projects which are mostly aligned to this traditional SDLC, right? So broadly, if you look at all the ones like waterfall, V-shaped, or iterative, spiral, all these were aligned to this SDLC phases. You had a requirements, you had design, development, you tested it, and finally implemented it, right? Now, of late, you keep hearing this term agile a lot, right? A lot of companies are moving away from the traditional SDLC models to agile models. And one of the most popular method of agile is the Scrum model. Okay. Now, Scrum model basically is one of the agile techniques, but it is the most popular. So, people tend to use that synonymously. Scrum and agile, people tend to use synonymously, but there is subtle difference. Now, let's define what agile methodologies is. Now, agile, the people who would support agile feel that we waste a lot of time in non-productive activities in an SDLC. When we say non-productive, which means you are writing documents, preparing documentation, you're doing a lot of reviews, and all these are not required. Is what the agile supporters think of, right? They feel that we can implement projects much faster at much lesser cost if you are only focusing on key productive activities rather than doing a lot of these documentation and reviews, right? So that is a major difference between agile school of thought and the SDLC methodologies, right? So they figure out the different ways in which you can make things faster. So that is where different techniques like your pair programming, chat session, extreme programming, all these have come in. But these are all not an end-to-end models like a Scrum. So Scrum model is an end-to-end agile model, right from the requirements till the development till the implementation. Everything is optimized and focused on those productive activities to deliver, right? That is the main reason Scrum has become a lot more popular, right? If you look at organizations, most of them are moving towards agile, and they would definitely want a business analyst to know, or even the developers and the architects to know how to work in an agile model, right? So that is where it becomes important for us to learn Scrum model as well. Okay. Now, the main difference from a business analyst point of view between agile and your traditional SDLC would be there would be minimal documentation, right? So earlier in any of these SDLC phases, like be it an iterative or waterfall and all, we were preparing comprehensive detailed business requirements document, BRD, right? So depending on the requirement, our BRD could even go up to 100, 200 pages, right? It used to be that comprehensive. All your requirements has to be documented in that. If the requirement is not there in that, then you are not going to design or develop that, right? And then the customer has to review all those 200 pages and then give a sign off, right? Now, Agile feels that you are wasting a lot of time doing all that, right? So, and you do exactly the opposite of that in an Agile. So you're just capturing the requirements minimally, right? You just capture the high level requirements, and that too on a piece of post-it note, right? So the postcard size post-it notes are used to capture each requirement, right? And you would use a whiteboard and then use these post-it notes to stick on it to capture all your requirements, right? So the way the Agile and Scrum model works is completely different from a traditional SDLC. We'll get into the details anyway, but that's the main difference. Okay, so your requirements are documented minimally, and Agile encourages a lot of verbal communication, right? Earlier, the sign off used to be by documents. You develop something, and then you prepare a document, your requirements document, and then the document is given to the architect, and after that architect has to just purely depend on the document and then do his design, right? So unless it's all comprehensively captured, he will not consider that for design. But here it's a lot more collaborative in an agile model, right? So you're capturing only the basic requirement which needs to be done in written communication, right? That one a small post-it note, and then the rest of it you are just explaining it to the architect verbally, right? So it takes advantage of both verbal and written communications. Okay. The second main advantage is that it's done in smaller cycles, so it saves you time and money as well. Now this one, smaller cycles, is also done as part of our iterative model, right? So that's a similarity between Scrum model and iterative model, right? But the way you break up the scope into iterations, and here we call each iteration as a sprint, right? Now the way we break up the scope between the phases and sprints here is completely different, right? So the way we call our requirements as a product backlog, the way we prioritize it and then define the scope for each sprint is very much different from your iterative model, right? So where there we would generally go by those modules and all, here it would be a lot more different, right? When we actually get into the role of a business analyst and when we are looking at the Scrum model, we look at the topic in detail. But yeah, that's at a high level difference between Scrum and
Ravi, can you explain sprint once more?
Yeah. Okay, so let's take a small example and then I'll give you the context here. So this anyway we would learn it in detail, but how to prioritize your requirements and all. But let me explain at a high level how do we generally execute a Scrum project, right? So first the project is selected, right? So once the project is selected, you would have listed down all your features or functionality which is there as part of your product. Let's say there are some 20 features which needs to be developed as part of your system, right? So those 20 would be listed down. Okay. Now which one is important for you, right? Now the reason we do it is the first iteration or the first few iterations would focus on the most important features, right? Why? Because you get the maximum utility out of it, right? If there are, like, let's say 100 features which I want to develop in a system, okay, now those 100 features would have taken me 1 year to develop, design, develop, and do everything, right? Now those 100 features, if I have broken down into, let's say, five iterations, 5 sprints, right? So rather than 1 year, it would have taken what? Let's keep it as 6. So rather than 1 year, it would have taken us 6 months to 2 months each to deliver each one of them, right? And see, a lot of time we won't use all features equally, right? So if you know this concept of 80-20, it means that 80% of the time we spend using only 20% of the features, right? So any software you pick, only 20% of the features is what you would use very frequently, right? 80% of the time you just spend using 20% of the functionality. So if you would have focused on the 20% functionality in the first iteration, right, you get the maximum utility. You would get that 80% of your time you could have used the system, right? So you are getting the maximum utility. So what you're doing effectively is you are finding out those key priority items and the items which will give you the maximum utility, which you'll use very frequently, and develop that as part of the first iteration. Okay. Now that is called as prioritization of your requirements. We call this as a product backlog. I'll explain about the jargon and all when we get into the detailed session. But broadly, we are prioritizing our requirements, and then the topmost priority requirements are handled in first iteration. Okay, so you'll pick up the set of 5-10 requirements which are important, and then you do that in the first iteration. Now, since you're only picking up a subset of your requirements, it will be done faster, right? And iteration would have all your steps of requirements, design, development, and testing. All of them would happen as part of your iteration, right? And there's a concept called as a daily stand-up meetings, DSMs as we call it as. So every day there would be the project manager in this is called as a Scrum Master. So he is the guy who coordinates everything. So Scrum Master calls for a daily stand-up meeting every day, and everybody would clearly understand what they need to do for that particular day, okay, and what are the dependencies. So those two things are identified, and then they will start working on those activities. Okay, so that's what is done as part of the sprint, and your those 4 or 5 features what you have identified for the sprint are delivered, and then you take it to the customer, right? So the first version, you'll take it to the customer, he would look at it, and then he would have his feedback also. Maybe some things needs to be improved, right? So you'll improvise those things, and then in the next iteration you would update them. Okay, so you'll keep on doing these iterations till the point where you'll get to a stage where you can actually give the system to a set of users, and they can start using it. Right, so that's when it is released to the production environment, and you still keep on continue with the development and giving upgrades to that over and over that version in production.
The Scrum Master is a BA or a project manager?
So there is a Scrum Master, there is a BA, there is a product owner, right? So there is a product owner, we call it as, right? So all these roles are there as part of the project, right? So Scrum Master role is completely different. So it's not a business analyst.
That we have a team, then in team there will be a BA, a project owner, and a Scrum Master, and then the testing team.
Yes. Yes. So a Scrum Master's role would more or less be, overlapped with a project manager. There won't be a project manager in a Scrum model, right? We call them as a Scrum Master because he is a master of this overall the way the project should be executed, right? So rather than calling him as a project manager, he is the guy who owns who guides the team, and then he would clearly coordinate the activities and ensure that everybody is doing their set of activities. Okay.
Yeah, maybe so in product backlog, like all the requirements will be there, like high priority as well as low priority.
Yes. Everything so the product backlog is a set of all your requirements. Now that product backlog is broken down into smaller chunks of requirements, right? Let's say if you have 20 requirements, you will break it down into a set of 5 each, so that there are 4 different blocks of requirements. And each block of 4 you will carry out in an iteration. So 20 into 4, you will end up with 5 iterations or 5 sprints as we call it as. Okay. Now each sprint timelines you generally keep it around 2 to 3 weeks. So that's actually very fast, right? So the end users also don't have to wait till too long into the project to see how the final product would look like. So at the end of 2 weeks, the customer can see some features which are developed, and then he can provide his feedback. So which will be again going into your product backlog, and then you will update them, and the process would continue, right? So this is more hands-on. The user involvement is lot more. It would save you time and money because you are developing in these iterations. Right? And how exactly you would save on time and money, I'll explain when we actually talk about the requirements and all. Right? So it's a little more, complicated. You need to understand how a product backlog works and how the iteration works, right? So which we'll cover in as part of our, user stories topic, right? So agile way of capturing it is the user stories. When we talk about that, all those details will be covered. Okay. today's session is only a very high level overview. Don't think that this is what is Scrum about. We have a comprehensive deck which have 26-30 slides, which will actually explain you the details about how you go about creating those product backlogs, the details about the various releases, and then how do you capture the report also, right? So everything would be covered in detail. So for now, I've just introduced that there is a different way of executing the projects, which is a Scrum model, right? So till now, the last 3 sessions, what we have done is we have just looked at how the industry works, right? So let me quickly summarize the last 3 sessions so that we can clearly know what is the takeaway. So we understood how the client organization looks like, right? So we understood that there are these 3 different teams who have different responsibilities, and then the business teams would give us projects to work on. The budgets would be allocated by them, and we learned about the competitive bidding process in which a vendor is identified, right? So all that we have the context. The key document from this is the statement of work. SOW is created with the winning vendor, and that would be a document which lists down all your scope. Okay, we looked at the IT company overview also. Then we learned about account managers, delivery managers, right? And then we also looked at a typical project structure. So there would be multiple teams, on-site and offshore. On-site it would be under the purview of account managers. Offshore it would be under the purview of the delivery managers, right? On-site team takes care of requirements and coordination with the customer. Offshore team takes care of design, development, and testing, right? So that the work is also clearly demarcated of who's doing what. Then we looked at the various phases of a SDLC. Primarily, we get involved in phase 1 to identify the projects. Phase 2 during the planning and then capture the detailed requirements. So a BRD would be delivered out of phase 2, right? We won't really get involved in phase 3 and 4. Phase 3 is handled by the technical architect. Phase 4 is by the development team, the programmers. Phase 5 is the testing. We could get involved in this, we would coordinate the testing with the customer, right? And finally, it could be implemented and maintained. This would be handled by the operations team. Okay. Then we also looked at the various types of SDLC. We looked at waterfall model, which is the simplest model. We looked at the V-shaped model, which requires systems for high reliability. We looked at prototyping model. Then we looked at the prototyping model. Wherein if there is some disambiguity, if there is some ambiguity regarding the requirements, how could you reduce that by creating the prototypes? We looked at the iterative model to reduce the timelines for the delivery of the system. We looked at the spiral models for high-risk projects. We learned about the product implementations as well. And finally, we also looked at the agile way of executing the projects. Okay, so that's primarily is what helps us understand how things work in the industry. Right now, starting tomorrow, we would actually get into the role of a business analyst. If you remember the first demo session that I have given you, I've classified the role into 6 knowledge areas. Right. So we would pick up each of those knowledge area and then understand in detail what we are going to contribute as during that part of the project, right? So starting tomorrow, I will start the requirements planning session, which will help you understand what are the first things that you do when you get into a project. The first 1 week or so, when the detailed project plan is created, what is your contribution in that process, right? So we'll learn that as part of the requirements plan. Okay. Clear? Any questions? All right then. So we'll meet again tomorrow, same time.
Okay.
Good night. Bye bye.
Good night. Thank you.
Raju,
Yeah.
I would like to ask a question. As far as I have understood on the Agile method and Scrum method, that Agile is easy to execute when compared to Scrum. Then why would companies use a Scrum method to process their softwares? Or
So I think there is a little bit of disconnect there. Now, Agile is basically a group of techniques which would be used to uh, you know to focus on the core productive activities. Right? So
Okay.
it differs from the traditional SDLC by saying that we are wasting a lot of time in.
Yeah, I mean they are just focused on what the present problem is.
Yes, guys, can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah.
I get the message saying that my audio is disconnected. Yeah. So your SDLC is, the what the agile methodologists feel that we waste a lot of time in these non-productive activities like documentation and all. So that is reduced by agile, right?
Okay.
Now, Scrum model is one of those agile methodologies. Right? So there are different agile methodologies also, like there is a pair programming or extreme programming, right? Then there is JAD sessions, right? All these are types of agile methodologies. Okay.
So Scrum is a model of agile method.
Exactly.
Yes.
Agile.
I was just confused. I thought Scrum and agile are both opposites.
No. It's actually agile is a bigger term. Scrum is one type of agile. Right?
Okay.
So that is where people get confused. So actually the Scrum has become so popular that it has become synonymous with agile now.
Yeah, I was just thinking that Scrum is a detailed way of doing and agile is the simplest way.
Yeah, no. So some people use agile and then they talk about Scrum, but it is not the case, right? So Scrum model is one type of agile.
Okay.
I think that gives you the clarification. I think you'll understand it much better when we talk about the final topic. So since I didn't have enough time, I crisply gave you an overview about Scrum model here. But we'll spend some good 3-4 sessions on Scrum model and our user stories there. Okay.
Okay.
Thanks for watching the video. Please like, comment and subscribe for more updates.